Has punitive populism associated with Bulldozer Justice gone beyond UP, MP, Uttarakhand and now has reached Orissa? What exactly is Bulldozer Justice and how it is a big concern for us? Supreme Court has already given pan-India guidelines for Bulldozer Justice. What are they? Bulldozer Justice. This particular term has gained significant currency in recent years, and it refers to a type of state action which raises fundamental question against not only just the legal processes but also human rights as well as constitutional morality. Today we are going to talk about this particular term and understand where it comes from and what are the implications associated with it and how it has been addressed in our country. Hello everyone, welcome to Vajiram and Ravi's Flash News. My name is Shubhangi Singh and let us begin with understanding what this particular term means. So basically this term is in news again. There has been rebuking of Tehsildar by Orissa High Court in the context of Bulldozer Justice because it is believed there was a demolition of community center which was unjust and it happened under the idea of Bulldozer Justice, and Orissa High Court has went ahead and ordered that the compensation will be given from the Tehsildar's salary. Now this has brought the word Bulldozer Justice back again in news, but this has been in news for a while. It has gained significant currency over years and इसको एड्रेस भी किया गया है सुप्रीम कोर्ट के द्वारा. पिछले ही साल नवंबर 2024 में यहाँ पर क्लियर गाइडलाइंस, पैन इंडिया गाइडलाइंस जो हैं सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने इशू की थी. बिफोर वी टॉक फर्दर अबाउट दिस, यहाँ पर हम एग्जैक्टली बुलडोजर जस्टिस है क्या उसको हम समझ लेते हैं. सो बेसिकली व्हेनेवर वी टॉक अबाउट बुलडोजर जस्टिस, it refers to demolition of homes or properties. Now, whose homes and properties? Of the individuals who are accused or convicted by state authorities. Now, if the demolition is occurring, and we have to understand what is the problem here, that this demolition is happening without due legal process. In recent times, we have seen wherever a person who has been accused, especially being part of communal riots or especially incidences of harassment, it's the government, the state authorities that go ahead with the demolition of their properties, especially in the name of illegal construction. So when the state authorities are assuming the power of the court and deciding and convicting and delivering the justice through demolition, this is what is referred to as bulldozer justice. Now that we have understood the term, what exactly is bulldozer justice, now let us move ahead and discuss that how it has gradually emerged over years. So in recent years, it has been seen in states of Uttar Pradesh, Madhya Pradesh and Uttarakhand, and many people have pointed out that it is associated with a certain party's way of handling the punitive populism. However, it is usually linked with alleged crime, communal tensions as well as process. Now the authorities I have mentioned, they have clearly cited whenever the demolition has been done, it has been over illegal construction. And another important thing that becomes important to notice, if it is happening because of illegal construction, it should be happening to all other such properties in that vicinity which we have not seen. So it is basically the state authorities that they are deciding without the legal process and punishing the associated person or the accused person herein. Now we have understood how this has emerged and how this particular problem of bulldozer justice. See, can you understand that there is a term with justice, but this is problematic because the due process of law is not being followed. Now let us understand that why is this a problem in detail. The first thing that we need to understand that if we are not following the legal process, that means both parties have not been given chance to be heard equally, and this is violation of rule of law. If we are not following the legal process, we are bypassing the courts and the procedural fairness that comes with it, and it becomes important that the separation of power which is an important, basic, fundamental component of our constitution, remains so, and that separation between executive and judiciary remains. If the executive itself is deciding to be the judge and decide the legal process and the conviction as well through demolition, then it becomes unjust and unfair. Another important concern that needs to be understood and highlighted in terms of bulldozer justice is the fact that it is a collective punishment. Whenever a crime is committed, the person associated or who has committed it will be convicted or punished. But when you are resorting to demolition, it is the families as well as the children who suffer for the alleged acts. It is not even convicted yet, they are punished for the alleged acts of one person. And Supreme Court has already termed this as state inflicted trauma on the families and children. So you have to understand that this resolution of the problem by the executive itself, just to build in the majoritarian euphoria, we usually miss the most distressing aspect, where we are not just punishing the accused person, but here we are inflicting trauma on women, children, and you have to understand this is impacting the marginalized community the most. So whenever we talk about such acts, when we are talking about bulldozer justice, it will have two sorts of impact. If we talk about the majoritarian view, you will find that this will be vindicated, this will be celebrated. However, if you will look at the marginalized community, you will find that this induces fear. This induces the feeling of non-belongingness as well. So we also have to look into the psychological aspects, not just legal aspects when we are talking about concerns. Apart from that, in recent time, this has not been just an isolated singular activities that we have seen across the state. Rather, they have been prominent. If you look at the numbers herein, you will find that in the year of 2022-23, 1.5 lakh homes. Now, this is based on housing and land report that we have in front of us, and it clearly states that the amount of people, around 7.3 lakh people who were displaced, majority of them were from the marginalized community. Now, this is another thing that we need to take in consideration, that when we are talking about especially the bulldozer justice coming from state authorities, we need to protect the marginalized, the weaker section more, and because of the justice, this sort of justice that is being served by the state authorities itself, the executive itself, it is affecting the community which needs to be protected more. Another thing that is a concern is that this is a directly international law breach. It violates International Convent of Civil and Political Rights, Article 7, which basically talks about that there should be protection from arbitrary interference, especially with home and property. Now, this is something that we have to understand. It is not about national laws. It is not about just constitutional morality. As a nation where we talk about human rights, where we talk about constitutional morality, it is an obligation to stand with the basic human rights at the international level as well. So here we are finding, we are not just violating the due process of law, we are not just distressing the marginalized communities, but it is also an international law breach. Another concern that has been risen is that here we see that there is a competition between the public sentiment and constitutional morality. Now, why we are saying public sentiment? Whenever such actions are done, as I have said, they are celebrated by a certain section of society, that the government is out there and serving justice to the people who are accused or people who are not right. Now, this majoritarian view is against the due process of law, and this is what normalizes vigilante governance, and the risk associated with it also gradually heightens. Now that we have established that what is bulldozer justice, we have understood the concerns with bulldozer justice. As I said in the start itself, that SC in November 2024 has already given pan-India guidelines for bulldozer justice and how you have to make sure that it is the executive who is not becoming the judge, and there is due process of law throughout. Now, this becomes important for us to understand, because this is something that SC has already addressed and SC has already talked about, but still such incidents keep cropping up. Now, let us look into the guidelines first so as to understand. Now, this guideline was given under Article 142. We will be talking about this article in detail just after this. And under this article, it focused on ensuring complete justice, not just a form of justice which is unjust and unfair, complete justice across India as per Article 142. In this particular, there were key directives and a clear guideline that is applicable pan-India was given, where it was said there will be 15-day notice minimum, there will be a fair hearing which gives opportunity to the both parties to say their piece and explain their sides. There will be transparency. How? The notice will be shared with the DM or the collector with the email acknowledgement, and the final order must also include reasoning and summary of owner's side. Apart from that, there has been also that there will be a post-order waiting period. Even if the order is given, there are 15 days given to appeal or to vacate to the particular person to whom the property belongs, and there will be a proper video documentation of the inspection as well as demolition. That means whatever demolition is supposed to take place will take place through a proper process, and there will be a selective demolition test as well. That means if similar buildings, because government usually names it that there has been illegal construction and that's why we are demolishing. So there will be a selective demolition test as well. That means if there are similar buildings and if those buildings are untouched, then the motive was not illegal construction, the motive was to be punitive. Now, apart from this, there are certain exceptions also given, that if the demolition is for illegal construction and there is no selective behavior, then these guidelines are not applicable. If there are any sort of public encroachments, be it roads, railways, rivers, and if there is a court ordered demolition, then these guidelines are not applicable. So, SC has already ensured that this form of vigilante governance does not exist, and there is a proper procedure to ensure complete justice, especially when we are talking about given the rights, given the legal processes and the constitutional morality associated with it. But now the last thing that we will look into is basically the Article 42, under which Supreme Court went ahead and gave these guidelines to ensure and to address bulldozer justice concerns. So, if we talk about Article 142, it gives the complete justice power of Supreme Court. It has provisions related to complete power of justice for Supreme Court, and it has two provisions. Article 142(1). Now, it empowers the Supreme Court to pass any decree or order which is important for complete justice in any matter that is pending before it. So, that means these orders which are passed, they are binding across India and they will be enforceable as a law by parliament or precedence directions. Other than that, if we talked about the next provision, that is Article 142 provision 2, it gives the court the authority to ensure. The court also needs tools to ensure complete justice. So, this provision gives them the tools such as the court has the authority to secure presence of parties, order discovery of documents and punish for the contempt of court as well. Now, this becomes important. Why? When we are telling somebody, okay, this is your duty, you can do this, we need to facilitate them, give them tools to carry out that duty. So, Article 142 is the one which facilitates and gives the power to the Supreme Court to ensure the complete justice, and 142 assures that it has the tools to do so. Now, my question for you is, we have understood the concerns associated with bulldozer justice, but what are the challenges if we talk about in ensuring the implementation of SC guidelines against bulldozer justice. What are the challenges? You can put in the dimensions and challenges that you think in the comment section. That was all from my side. Thank you so much.